Have you ever been handed a piece of Christian advice that sounded deeply spiritual, but in reality just left you feeling completely paralyzed? Phrases like, God has one perfect blueprint for your life, and if you miss it, you're stuck on plan B. Or, even worse, if you just had enough faith, or if you just confessed that hidden sin, God would have fixed this by now. Today, we're peeling back the layers on the well-meaning church clichés that do real damage. We're breaking down the bad theology that leaves everyday believers feeling isolated, broken, and stuck, and we're looking for a truer, more scriptural way forward. I'm Nate. Welcome to the Easy Approach.
Take it easy.
All right, everybody, welcome in to another episode of the Easy Approach. As always, I am Nate, and as always, I'm joined by my good buddy, first, Tony.
Yes, happy to be here, and as always, to go with the as always that Nate has, we have Canaan joining us with a very special guest. Canaan, do you want to introduce him?
Yes, he is my lovely father.
My daddy.
My lovely elderly father.
The Lord Jesus Christ is on the podcast with us? Sorry,
Not
bad
that
humor.
one.
Bad
My
Christian
blasphemous.
Earthly. You can't
Earthly
say
Yes.
father. My bad.
I am here and I'm glad to be with you guys.
Hey, we're glad to have you, actually.
Yep.
So, Rick Evans, everyone. Rick, just real quick, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you've been a pastor for just a little bit. Not a long time, though, right?
A minute.
Just a minute or
yeah.
two.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
been a journey.
He's been on a break since the event. But
Right. Well, we can't talk about the lawyers.
yeah,
won't
that's
let
right.
me talk about it,
It's
so.
strict, non-disclosure agreement we've got going on.
Yeah.
Nope, just kidding. He's still in active pastoral work, which is cool. And he's my dad and Canaan's dad. I don't know if you were tracking with the Evans name, but we we spent the last few months trying to save up money for his appearance fee, and finally got there.
It's very expensive.
Yeah. You hit a certain age, you got to set a price, man. It's just the way it is.
Know your worth.
Yeah, that's
Know
right.
your worth.
Know your worth. Yep. No free handouts even to progeny. Yeah. Okay. Well, our episode today should be a fun one, and we felt like our dad here was perfect for this because we are talking about bad Christian advice.
Ooh, dun dun dun.
We're talking about bad Christian advice, and specifically, and this is our format here. All of us have had that prompt, leading up to this episode, and have prepped. We've been racking our brains on bad Christian advice that we've either received from someone or we've seen given to someone else. But none of us know what the other has brought. So I don't know what Tony's brought in the room. I don't know what Dad's been thinking of. I don't know what Canaan has. All of us are coming in blind. And so the prompt is, what is some of the worst, whether hilariously bad or genuinely damaging and dangerous, because there's quite a bit of that. Some of the worst advice within a Christian church circle that you've ever encountered. That is the prompt. And, Dad, you have had more ministry experience than the rest of us in the room have years of life, I think.
Yeah,
pretty accurate.
That's probably accurate.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm only 23, and you've been in ministry for.
Yeah.
No one's gonna crack. Okay. Yeah.
No, that's right. I
Just
don't
kidding.
disagree.
I'm not 20. I'm not 23 years old.
I mean, that means I'm 26. We're good.
That's right. Yep. So that's our prompt, ladies and germs. With some of the worst Christian advice that you've ever heard, and obviously this is a conversation that could go a lot of different ways.
Yes. Yes,
But
it
I
can.
mean, we could very easily end up in advice that's so bad it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then advice that's so funny that it's bad, if you know what I mean. So almost real and almost good that it's that much more devastating if you try to follow it out.
Yeah, absolutely right, Nate. I couldn't agree more. And I also want to give just a little bit of a disclaimer as well. Well, I can't tell you the number of times where I have experienced the bad Christian advice in my life, or I've seen different areas that other people have received stuff from good Christians. Christians
or
who
have given bad advice, Tony.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, you've given lots of bad advice over
absolutely. This is me trying to, buckle myself up. Like, don't hurt me.
Yeah, I didn't quite have the guts to say, bring the worst advice you've ever given anyone.
There you go.
Yeah, that was much easier to think of.
Yeah, I think I definitely have given some bad advice at
there's
some
no doubt.
point or another.
Well, that goes to prove my point is, like, if you find yourself listening to this and you're like, oh man, the one that they're making fun of right now, I have totally given to someone, or I have received that myself, and it's actually been a good thing in my life. There's a lot of nuance here, just like every easy conversation that we have on this easy podcast. And I just want to encourage, whenever you're a Christian or not a Christian, especially if you're not a Christian, I'm very interested in the good advice you've gotten from Christians that did not help you. But there's a lot of good Christians who came from good places. Like, their intentions were good. We had an episode about that, right, Nate? Like, what can happen with some good intentions, unfortunately? And so I just want that to be in the context of an understanding that, look, we're not trying to make fun of fellow Christians. We're not trying to tear each other down. There are some things that we're going to be lighthearted about, but there are some other things that are dangerous, and they need to be spoken about. They need to at least have some kind of a flashlight on it, so that if you're listening to this and you've never heard that perspective on something before, it can go, oh, okay, maybe something that I have tried to communicate, I thought was one thing coming out of my mouth, was received something completely different going into someone else's ears and their brain. And so I just wanted to make sure that that's the context that these conversations are in.
Yeah, our lawyers spoke very strictly to us before hitting record on this episode. Yep. Tony had to put that down. But now that's out of the way, and none of you can come after us legally.
Especially when I say terrible things.
That's right. Yeah, the gloves are off now. We have immunity because of what he just said. Yeah, Dad, as the guest, as the honored guest in the room, would you go first?
I can, and I had one all prepared, and I just realized I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's too simple. It's not fun. So I've changed my mind, and I have one now that I like a little better, and I think it is more, I don't know, probably it shouldn't be controversial, but it may be. So here it is. And this was something that I learned, I was told very young, and over the years it began to not make any sense to me. And that was that God has a perfect will for your life, meaning a perfect wife for you. There's one perfect wife for you, one perfect job for you, one perfect place for you to live, and you got to shoot for that. Anything else is second best. So there's God's perfect will, and this will stretch us for a minute, and there's God's permissive will. And God will allow us to do stupid things, but really he's got this one perfect thing that we need to do. That was advice I was given as a teenager. Yeah. And I swallowed it like, okay.
That's such a good one.
That is a good one.
Yeah. So that was one that as the years have gone by, I've been able to clarify it to people. That's stupid. It's stupid.
Wow. It's such an easy trap to fall into, though, because, like, especially with life, we want to make things simple. We want to make God very, it's black and white. There's no gray areas, which, we do believe that there are some actual lines in the sand for sure. But it's just so simple to make things too simple. Because what happens when things break? Oh, man, I was on the right path, but... oh, that was 10 years ago. Now I'm just having to settle for the crumbs and just hope that this is going to be enough to get me on for the rest of my life. Like, there's a lot of dangerous consequences that can come from that. That's my perspective. Canaan, what about you?
Yeah, it's funny is, I don't know, I might have subscribed to that belief at one point in my life. I'm not sure, but, it's funny. I was telling somebody the other day, I really like love what I do right now in life. I'm running a business or co-running a business, and I get a lot of joy from the process of stewarding it and figuring out how to grow it and all that sort of thing. But I was telling somebody there was probably like 6 other major doors that I felt like God had opened for me, or like the door was there. He placed the door there where there wasn't a door. And like 6 different times, I didn't have the courage to walk through the door. And in each one of those, I could see, like looking back, I'm like, I could see a world where if I'd walked through that door, God would have, it would have opened for me. You know what I mean? Like he had already put it there. And it was like wild stuff that I'm like, looking back, I'm like, wow, it was such a dummy to like not walk through that door. But you know, you hear stories of people all the time that are living back at that door. You know what I mean? They're like, I mean, all the time, where it's like it becomes their identity. Like, well, you know what? I had this back in the day. I had this thing, and I screwed it up, and I let it go, and that was it, and now it's over.
It's Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite.
Dude, it is Uncle Rico.
Yep.
His glory days.
If I had that moment back, I would have won. I would have won state. Things would have been different.
Man.
If Coach had just put me in.
Dude, it's such a real, his character's funny because it's so real. Like you hear it in real life all the time. People living in the past and not allowing themselves to go, okay, like, yeah, I screwed that up or I didn't do that right, you know? But it keeps them from being able to move forward and actually walk in the present plan that God can map out for you, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely been at that paralyzed spot in some younger years, where weighing multiple big decisions and being like, all right, this is not a small thing. This isn't like what I'm going to do with my Saturday. This is where I'm going to live, where I'm going to take my family, what I'm going to do as a career. And if I choose the lesser one, like you're off the rails. Like that's it.
Yeah, you're disobeying God.
Yeah. Well, you're now like in forever. You're one step less than it could have been and should have been.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember specifically a really good friend of mine facing a really major decision in life, and he was just laying on my couch, unable to move. Like he wouldn't move. I was like,
That's sad.
yeah. I was like,
You don't have to talk about me like that, all right? I'm in the room.
It wasn't you, but it was somebody you all know. I'll just put that in your head. And I was like, dude, come here, do some pull-ups, start moving. You're being pathetic. But he was just like, he was really, really.
Much love.
Yeah. Well,
Much
he was paralyzed by the fear of choosing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
However, let me push back. Because is it not the case that God does have a will for your life? He does have a plan for your life.
He knows Jeremiah 29:11. He knows
the plans he has for you, right?
Yeah.
Is it not the case that God has plans and that some are better than others? And that you can go to a lesser thing? Can you miss his will and forever miss the thing that he would have had for you otherwise? And does that not imply that it's a step down?
And my push back would be
This is what I want, by the way.
yeah, that's right. My
Love it.
push back would be that yes, but no. Thank you. That's all I have to say. Yes, but no. Yes, God does have a perfect will for your life. All right. But it's not in the realm of the exact person. I would say it's in the realm of the type of person. It's in the realm of the type of job. It's in the realm of it's not the exact got to be in this city to marry that person. If you're not in that city, you're out of luck. It's more God has a design for you, and the choices you make, if they fall out from underneath that design because you're doing your own thing, you're going to miss what I would think the more excellent way that God has for you.
Or I think in my experience, I would say I put off a lot of the blessings that God had for me in a season of life.
Definitely.
Because I, fill in the blank, didn't have the courage, wasn't obedient, whatever. You know what I mean? I mean, definitely, I've got multiple stories that I think of where I'm like, like I put myself in like a year long or a 2 year long stunt in life, you know what I mean? Because I made a really poor decision, you know, that I knew better. You know what I mean? I knew better. We had gone and prayed about it, and we felt like, no, this is not what we're supposed to do, and we did it anyways. And you know, I've got a handful of those, more than one. and
that must be hard. I've never done that.
Never.
That must be really hard.
Tell us what that's like.
It hurts, Tony. It hurts. No, but at least in my experience, I would say like, and I wonder. I'm just spitballing, but are there biblical examples of people who screwed it up, quote unquote, screwed it up, and didn't follow the good plan that God had for them, but were redeemed in the future?
Yeah, I think the easy one's David. I mean, that's where I jump to, but I hate to go with the easy approach on the easy approach.
I don't even know if that one's that easy. He dropped the nuclear bomb on the plans of God.
It's an obvious one, but it is not a small one.
But at the end of the day, there was redemption, and I oh man, you can have a whole episode on why was there redemption there? What took place? Why was he redeemed and not Saul, his predecessor? Like, because we talked about this, I think, in a very recent episode, that Saul was a good man. Saul was not just a good man; he was the best choice for a king. At a time when everyone was asking for a king, and God's like, I don't know if that's the best idea for you guys, but if that's what you want, here's the man. And even he screwed it up, and he didn't get redeemed. And so, yeah, I think that there's a lot of nuance there. Very interesting, Canaan.
Nate, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with everything you guys just said. There was a book that I read some years ago by a guy named Dallas Willard, who I have tried to convince each of you at different points in time to read. I don't know if you guys have ever read Dallas Willard or not.
A little bit. Not like cover to cover.
I've read chapters and chapters, but never entire
To
books.
be fair, he's not an easy read, like by any means. Like it's difficult reading. But he wrote a book called Hearing God, which is about prayer. And he starts off with this picture that I've never gotten out of my head. And it was a picture of him and his two kids, John and Becky. And he has this memory of he's on his back porch and his kids are playing in this large fenced-in background as small children. And they're just running around and they're doing this and they're doing that and they're interacting and they're climbing trees and they're rolling around the grass and they're playing with balls and they're just like whatever. They're doing whatever. And he's just sitting and he's watching them. And he describes them as being perfectly within his will. Playing back there. Even though he had no preference for the particular things they were doing, or whether they be in the backyard or in their rooms or in the kitchen. It's a picture of like God's posture towards ordinary life decisions is more like a parent happily watching a wide range of good choices rather than a judge checking your answer against some kind of like hidden answer key.
Yeah,
and
an architect that drew up the blueprints, and you're not following those blueprints.
Right. Like as if God has a secret correct choice, and if you miss it, oh man, like you missed it.
It's over.
And that was what I told my friend who was laying on the couch, who was like just so overwhelmed and terrified by the idea of missing it. And I was like, buddy, you've been praying and you've been seeking God and you've been trying to get the answer and you're horrified you're going to get the wrong answer. Don't you think that God, if you needed to know exactly what to do, don't you think if it was that high stakes that God could just make it clear with you seeking as hard as you are? Maybe it's the case that God says, hey, my will and my ability is big enough to invite you into a plethora of paths. Yeah. And it's not a matter of good or bad or of best or lesser. It's a matter of good if you trust me and follow me. And I think the whole idea that like God has one thing and one person and one thing and one career, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, I think it's us taking our vision of what it means to have plans and a will as humans and imposing it upon God. Because we're very, very limited in our ability to plan and to have a will for things. We can only conceive of like a backup plan, and it all seems better or lesser, or like one's good and one's not. But I think that's a really like severe limitation on our view of how God interacts with us, to say that, well, there's one good one and the rest are less than that. Is he not big enough to just say, hey, I don't care about what happened back then. I'm inviting you into just trusting me into the next thing. And is he not big enough to say, actually, there's 100 things you could do right now.
Right.
And they're all going to be really good if you just trust me into this next season. Mm-hmm. Which is, I think that's why you see in the Bible, Canaan, you asked for biblical examples. I think you have less of one biblical example and more of God's basic stance towards all humans, which is like, forget the days that have passed. Like, trust me now. Like, forget all the things that happened back then. Make the choice today to trust God and follow me. I think he can approach things that way because God's ability and his grace and his goodness is enough to start today and move into the good, and not be moaning about how, well, that's it. You're irredeemably screwed up. Like, nobody would say no one would say that person's irredeemable. And yet we would say that implicitly with language like the best like the right path, and everything else is less than that.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I want to take a moment to tie this down, like to ground it a little bit in some reality, because I think there's something very insidious about this particular lie.
Insidious.
Or this, something that really gets into culture, right? In today's culture, especially. And I think it's kind of ironic having a parent here of his children, but I think that there is something to be said for disappointing parents. In how a parent
My parents are very disappointing to me.
Yeah, there are no words. There are no words.
Because you did a great job of explaining the Dallas Willard picture of a parent who is content with his children, right?
Yeah.
How many parents, whenever they meant to or not, like, once more, their intentions were in the right place. Of course, no one wants bad things to happen, to befall to their kids, but whenever they meant to or not, they had these expectations. They have this, all right, you got to get straight A's, you got to go to college, you have to follow in the family footsteps of becoming a doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, and if you don't do one of these things, then, oh man, we're just... we love you still, but what really gets communicated in between those words a lot of time is, but we're disappointed. We're sad. We're sad that you didn't live up to what we expected of you. And so that's something that I think does stem from this idea that as parents, we think we know the best. We think we have it all together. The intentions are good and we want kids to be successful, but how can we better reflect that picture that you painted, Nate, of a parent who is content in the direction that their kid's heading without it having to be tied down like an architect planning a building,
Yeah, and if I may, I want to add to that, Tony. You said it's insidious and destructive, and there's another angle of that, and it is very destructive, and that is that the stress that it creates when you think there's one perfect will, and if I've missed it, I've missed it. It sets you up for a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress and a lot of completely unnecessary worry and fear that I'm not going to get it right. The notion, like that, what Nate read about Dallas Willard, and I listened to that book, an audio book. It was amazing. I had to listen to it 2 or 3 times because I would go. It's like reading C.S. Lewis. Yeah. But you're right. When we think of our God as a loving parent, that there are a lot of choices that they're going to be very pleased with. There's just a few they're going to be really, like, we know they've told us, don't do this, don't touch that fruit, don't date this kind of person, don't go to this kind of place, don't make this kind of choice. But yeah, I believe that there's a wide open world that God will bless us to walk into that's not specific and easy to, I mean, it's easy to miss. Yeah, I think it's actually easy to find the right path. I think the secret is just stay near to God.
Yeah.
Just stay near to God. Don't go your own way, because when you go in your own way, you do what David did, you did what Saul did. You mentioned a minute ago, what's the difference between Saul and David? One word, repentance.
That's right.
Saul wouldn't, David did.
That's exactly right.
Yep, that's good. So my quick way of wrapping up this thing would be, if the correct stance is not stress and obsess over not missing the perfect will, like when it comes to heavy decisions, what would you guys say is the right advice? Like you're facing a crossroads in life. You don't want to miss God. It's a significant and meaningful decision. What's the, to put it Christian-y, the heart posture? What's the stance? What's the tactic?
I am trying not to jump in too much because I'm new. Canaan's ready to talk. I can see Canaan's face.
You're good.
Canaan, while you go for, I'll give you a very short, quick one, because it's something I've said to people for many years. There's a scripture, and I often don't know where these scriptures are, but I know that it's in there.
It exists.
And it simply says, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives freely without reproach. Meaning, man, anytime you need to know something, ask. And God will not be irritated with you or laugh at you for asking. He will give you an answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think there's a lot of solid biblical principles as far as wise counsel and community. This is, we talk about this so much. If you're fairly new to our podcast, or if this is your first episode, we harp big time on the idea, two ideas. One, don't be in isolation. Just don't. Even if you're not a Christian, like that's something that we strongly believe, that Christianity has the best approach in our culture of not isolating and actually forming a solid community of people standing shoulder to shoulder with you. So when you are in that spot and you are having to make a crazy decision, you might get some terrible advice from some people who are well-meaning, even in your life. People who are friends. Canaan said it. I've given him terrible advice.
I'm kidding. I've never gotten bad advice from Tony. That guy has only good advice.
Well, that's obviously not true, but I say that to, on one hand, don't isolate. And then the other thing that I feel like we like to talk a lot on this podcast is don't swing to the other extreme, where all of a sudden every decision that you're making has to do with the approval of others. That you're missing out of what Rick just said. This seeking God first and having those quiet moments and really taking the time to focus. Hey, where are my emotions coming from right now? What are my emotions telling me? Am I coming from a place of insecurity or fear, or is there some actual truths that are staring me in the face that I just need to accept? Just like the guy on the couch, Nate, there were some truths right there, but sometimes they're so hard to see because the fear is just in your face. You got to get the fear out before you can see that truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. Yes. I wanted to add like a counterbalance in here, because I feel like it'd be possible to listen to this and go, well, that's a beautiful little image that Dallas Willard paints about his kids playing in the yard, and they're perfectly within their father's will if they're climbing a tree or rolling around in the grass or in the room or outside or whatever else. So it doesn't matter what I do. I can do whatever I want. And
here's the next awesome Christian advice.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could take this, and I think it's less common. Like typically in the church, you're not going to hear "doesn't matter what you do," but I think you could take the counterbalance of this and then run with it to an opposite extreme and go, okay, well, God's just big enough to make anything I do work. Now, you can. We looked at it with David. Your decisions can nuke some really good things.
Yes,
and there's fallout. David and his family suffered immensely. He had a broken family as a result. Does that mean it is a dead end? Does that mean that God, like that's it? Like it's an irredeemable thing? Does that mean it's all about tic-tac, the best thing, and now you're in plan B and then plan C, and then slowly they get worse and worse and worse? No, that isn't how God operates. I think that the idea here is that there doesn't need to be anxiety in missing God's voice if you're seeking it.
Mm-hmm.
Like God's not out to hide himself and keep his secret will. Like, well, you prayed 40 times. You should have prayed 41 times, though.
You missed it. Oh, you're so close to it.
You almost got it. But the opposite extreme of just saying, well, whatever I do is going to work out. Whoever asks for wisdom will be freely given it. And I think the key there, like what Dad said a minute ago, is yes, seek God like crazy. For those big decisions, seek God like he's going to give you the clear, definitive answer. And what I've taken to doing is in those big decisions where I don't feel like I'm getting a word from heaven, I evaluate it. I get wise counsel from people that I trust, know the heart of God well. I pray, and then I say, all right, God, I think I'm going to do this thing. It seems like the best course. Please stop me if this is not the right thing. Mm-hmm. I want to do what you want me to do.
Yeah.
Like, give me any sign that I shouldn't do this, and I will do it. Yeah. And I've had many times in my life, major decisions where that's the exact course that I took. And as I continued to trust in God and follow him step by step, all has been well.
Yeah.
Or
open
all
the
has
doors.
not been well.
Or all's been not been well, but all
really
has been well.
Yeah, all has been well in the end. But what's really cool about that is if you pray that prayer, I was just telling a friend this, they were trying to buy a house, and they went through this process with like 3 or 4 different houses where they were looking at it, everything looks good, and then like at the last minute something terrible would happen. And I was like, and before that happened, I'm like, dude, you need to pray and ask God, shut the door.
That's
if
right.
I shouldn't have this house, if this would be for any reason be bad for me, just don't let me have it. And like 3 or 4 houses in a row, it was like freak accident type stuff that was like, what? Like the buyer didn't actually own the house, or the seller didn't actually own the house. Like what? Like all these crazy things. And he was kind of down in the dumps. And I'm like, no, dude, like
that's good.
Like you prayed that prayer, and you need to walk it with the assumption that God has protected you from really bad stuff. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, you're hearing it. And from there, when you hear somebody else's, we can oftentimes see clearer somebody else's situation than they can see it themselves. And I'm listening to the story, and I'm like, dude, that sounded like you were about to walk into a train wreck. Mm-hmm. and they were sad about it. And I'm like, it sounded like you just got saved, like you just got protected. Yeah. And so if you pray that prayer, there's been so many times where I'm like, I'm going to proceed with caution. And I really need you to not let this work out, God. And man, there's been a lot of times where I have the door slammed in my face. And then you look back 2 or 3 years later and you're like, oh, I see now how life is way better now because that didn't happen, Yeah. So yeah, I would totally agree with that.
Yeah. When you can look back and thank God for the prayers that he didn't answer, or he answered in a way that it didn't happen quickly. It didn't happen when you wanted it to. You had to wait. But when I look back on the prayers that were not answered and how they saved me from so much sorrow, man, there's a lot of gratitude there.
Okay, I'm going to take that opportunity to throw out the next piece of advice that I've heard, because these are related, I think, and it's kind of a two-sided coin here. So here's the first side of the coin. If you have the faith, it will be given to you. And more specifically, you will be healed. Now, I've been the recipient of this one for about a decade now. Or
I can't imagine why.
To the listener, my wife Savannah was diagnosed with a brain tumor about a decade ago. And we had a lot of wonderful community around us. And then we had a handful of people that were not close community, but just acquaintances, give us that exact advice, but it often stopped looking like advice. It started looking like an accusation. It often started looking like if the fact that you aren't being healed means that you either A, don't have the faith, B, you have some kind of sin that you haven't dealt with. The fact that you're suffering means that one of those two things has to be true. So there you go. Have fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump in real quick, Nate, with the little story that I remember you telling us on a previous episode, just briefly. How Nate was in a situation when he was teaching in a class, and everything was going great, and very responsive class, like normal, whatever. And then there was a girl, if I'm not mistaken. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, but she came up afterwards, and Nate was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, someone's interested and wanted to chat about what we were just talking." And she basically was like, "Hey, look, if you just confessed your hidden sin, then your wife wouldn't have to be going through what she's going through."
Yeah. She gave me a note to read at home.
Yeah, that's right. It was a note.
It was a 17-year-old girl from Brazil.
Very wise girl.
Wise beyond her years. Yep. And she said, "Thank you for sharing about your wife, but the fact that she hasn't been healed means that you are angry at God, and that's why he hasn't healed her." And also she threw in there's worse things than cancer, as like a nice way of capping the little note, which is true.
Yeah.
Which is true. It's just probably not the thing you should tell to someone that's dealing with cancer. Yeah. Yes. So anyway, there's the advice. If you have the faith, it will be given to you. You will be healed. And if you're not being healed, then you either don't have the faith or there's secret sin.
Yeah.
Oof.
It's not God's fault if you don't have enough faith.
That's right.
It's your fault.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is what that teaching or that thinking leads you to believe. And it's just so stupid.
But why?
And it's so sad.
Why do you
it's
think
stupid because it defies the nature of God. If you read scripture and how the love of God, the mercy of God, all of it, it just makes a mockery of all that stuff.
Tony, Canaan?
Yeah, I mean, without
Canon's
a
got
doubt.
a good look at his face, like,
Canon's like, "I don't know, man.
I don't want to say
it. Might be true. That might be good advice."
It's just such a terrible thing to tell anybody. It's just such a terrible thing to say.
It's cruel.
It's
like dark.
It is.
Once
It's
more-
like, yeah, go ahead, Tony.
No, I was just gonna say, once more, you got to put yourself in this girl's shoes, and everyone thinks they're right. No matter what the context is, no matter what the conversation is, I am in the right. And if I know that I'm right about something, it's my responsibility to communicate that and get the other person to see the truth, right? And so it's like, yeah, it's a terrible thing to say. On one hand, I am impressed by her boldness to get across what she was trying to get across. But I think that's exactly what stemmed. This is a good example of what stemmed why we wanted to have this conversation on this podcast. Is too many times I have seen Christians have very bad impacts and influences on culture, on society, with things that they said with these good intentions. And all it does is the opposite of what they intended. We end up isolating people. We end up making people go, Christians are so rude. I thought they were supposed to be loving. I thought that was the whole thing about Jesus, is that he taught us to love people, but they are always judging. They're always condemning. And so, and once more, we're not going to get to the other extreme of that just yet. But yeah, it's dangerous. That's the answer. When you ask why, Nate, like for me, it's dangerous. There are consequences to these pieces of advice. And I hate seeing Christians unintentionally causing harm to the people around them. The only thing that I hate worse are the Christians who intentionally do it. But that's a different conversation.
Yeah, man. Don't hang out on Christian Facebook. I'll tell you. You hop on there, you get caught in the loop, and yeah, it's rage baiting. They're all just angry rage baiters. Yeah. Cannon, do you have anything to add there? Because I'm gonna keep pushing back on this. I want to see why you guys think the way you do.
Yeah. Okay. I had another piece actually goes hand in hand with this that I wanted to throw in. It's the idea that oh, come on, where is it at? I had it written down here. The idea that everything happens for a reason. You know what I mean? And it really does go hand in hand in this in a way. And man, the Bible says, and again, Dad, I'm gonna pull a Rick and say I don't know where this is, but it's in there. That the rain falls on the just and the unjust, and the idea that that crappy stuff happens to good people and it happens to bad people, and you're going to get rained on at one point or the other. You know what I mean? And it's not because you had unconfessed sin. It's not because you did something wrong, or you're 3 generations ago something in your family tree happened bad, although that, you know, the Bible talks about that a little bit. Maybe we could hit on that, actually. It's an interesting topic. But you know, the rain falls on the just and the unjust, and crappy stuff happens, and I will say it doesn't happen for a reason. But God can take a really crappy situation and turn it into something that is good. That is like, it's a similar piece of advice that has a completely different basis. You know what I mean? It's not that everything happens for a reason. It's that if you're a believer, God can turn around the worst of situations and turn it into something good. He can turn a death into something that brings life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. The wording in Romans 8 is very particular. And I think it's often quoted as being like, all things happen for the good of those who trust in God. But rather it said, God works all things for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. There's a big difference between working all things and inflicting all things. So I totally agree. But, and here's my bit of pushback here. The reason people say you're not being healed because you don't have enough faith is because there are places you can read in the Bible that seem to imply if you have enough faith, you are healed, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, just like it's all over the Gospels. Not all over, but there's a handful of moments in the Gospels where you have a couple of different women in the book of Matthew, I believe, where Jesus says, your faith has healed you, right? It's like the lady who suffered from the chronic bleeding and touches his cloak, and your faith has healed you, and bam, she's made well. And then there's a Canaanite woman who meets Jesus, and she asks for healing for her demon oppressed daughter, and goes back and forth with him. And he says, your faith is great. It will be done as you wish. And then you have even later in Matthew, that little moment where Jesus is talking about prayer and says, if you trust God, you'll receive what you ask for in prayer. So I have thoughts for those things, but before I give those thoughts, so I don't monologue for a minute, do you guys have thoughts in response to that? Because you can take those things and then say, look, her faith healed her. And so Jesus also talks about how there are many times when people do not have faith or trust in God. But here, her faith is great. It was done as she wished. Your faith has healed you, so on and so forth. Obviously, Jesus is the one doing the healing, not the faith. But it seems to imply like some, faith healing connection there. Well, what do you guys make of that?
It's in there. It's definitely in there.
I mean, I'm devil's advocating here.
Yeah,
we
love doing that.
We all know that you can take isolated scriptures, and I realize there's a number of scriptures in there that talk about faith healing, or faith being a qualifier for being healed. But we also have lived long enough to know that our timing when we want healing is not exactly maybe when God's going to bring healing. Mm-hmm. I've seen throughout my life people that have had suffering and I've seen the suffering take them to levels of nearness to God that nothing else could have taken them to. And so that is one of those, God working something together for the good, because how much good came out of find people in Scripture, find Paul the Apostle, find people that suffered for a season or suffered sometimes for a long season, like a thing called a thorn in the flesh that Paul had, that he wasn't healed of. What, he didn't have enough faith? Was that the problem?
Right.
Or was
Paul,
it God had...
the guy who wrote the book on faith.
The guy who wrote the book.
Sorry, buddy.
Didn't have
short.
enough faith. Or was God accomplishing something there that suffering had went hand in hand with?
Yeah, I think that's 2 Corinthians 12, that thorn in the flesh thing, where Paul says that he specifically, he asked for healing. He cried out for healing at multiple individual points. And his answer was, what he was given back from God was not healing. Then it was, my grace is going to be sufficient for you, because my power is made perfect in weakness. And so Paul came to see that, Like he had that God allowed him to, it didn't inflict him with it, but allowed him to carry it. Right. Because it would open up the door to an even greater thing. And yeah, man, I think the answer to, it's called proof texting, is when you take a little isolated verse and say, look at right there. And that proves it. The answer to proof texting is just looking at other places in the Bible, because if you can proof text in a vacuum, all you have to do is find one other verse that says the opposite, and you can't use either one anymore.
That's right.
And the Bible is, it is not at a lack for examples of people suffering immensely through no fault of their own. There's an entire book written about this. It's called Job. And there's a whole group of people who represent that side of it, saying God runs the universe on the strict principle of just recompense. And therefore you must have sinned. Or you must lack righteousness or lack the faith. You must deserve your pain.
And we have a whole group of episodes covering those, Job. So go back and listen to those.
We have 3 episodes in the book of Job. Because us, like we, the reader, we know from the get-go that Job is innocent and he's blameless. And God ultimately pulls the curtain back and goes, hey, the big picture here is there's so much behind the scenes. It's so complicated, but ultimately I'm capable of it. So trust me, Job. Yeah. You don't have to have the answers. And certainly God rebukes all his friends. They spoke of me what is wrong, but just trust me in light of all that. You have these moments like in John where it's like it's another one of those healing things where there's a man who was born blind and the disciples are like, hey, whose sin was it? Was it his parents' sin or was it his sin?
Who did?
And Jesus is like, neither. What? Neither. Yeah. But then ultimately, and this is something that I never noticed until just recently, but Jesus in Gethsemane specifically asked for God to deliver him.
I literally had that pulled up. I had that verse pulled up, and I'm like, unanswered prayer, deep suffering, and it's because of God's purposes that he allowed it to happen.
Yes, and there was a doorway that could only be opened through that course, and Jesus was willing to go through it. His specific language was, if it can be, may this cup pass from me, but not my will, but yours be done. Yes. Which is that is the ultimate, like it's him playing out the Sermon on the Mount. It's him playing out the Lord's Prayer, where ultimately he says, may your kingdom come, may your will be done. I have my will, and I'm going to request my will, but ultimately I trust yours. And here's the kicker, where this has never stuck out to me. In Hebrews chapter 5, verse 7, it specifically says, in case you want to take those verses in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and say, well, he wasn't really trying to get out. In Hebrews 5, it says that Jesus prayed with loud cries and tears to the one who could save him from death. Which you can make an effort to try to explain that away, but it certainly implies very strongly that Jesus was asking to not die.
Yeah.
Can we not do this? Can we not take this course? And ultimately he says, but if this needs to be what it needs to be, then we'll do it. So, with Savannah's diagnosis, we've prayed every day for right at about a decade, at least once a day. God, could you take this cup from us? Right? God, could it not have to be this way anymore? But the step right below that is, but we'll do whatever you want.
Yes.
Because we are convicted. We believe that his path is better than ours, even if it means there's hardship and pain right now. I believe that wherever he's leading us is better than it would have been otherwise. Yeah. So yes, and I talked about the thorn in the flesh thing to that Brazilian girl, and I think it was like that. Have you guys seen the old Ray Charles meme where he's sitting at a piano? He's like, I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that. Yeah. I think it was.
Yeah, that's our favorite pastime as Christians.
Yeah, that's right.
She just said I don't speak English and Portuguese.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add my 2 cents real quick, and then hopefully we can get one more in here, maybe from Canaan, just so you know, and heads up in a second. But yeah, like the picture you just painted of Jesus and what he was going through, and how he did have the desires. You and Savannah have the desires, but the very next statement is, "It's your will, though. It's what you are guiding us through," and I think that's key here, because we're talking about having enough faith, right? And we're talking about having enough faith for healing, having enough faith for what you're going through. And I'm a very big a component of like Christian words losing their meanings, right? I hate that. I hate Christianese things. And I think faith does fall into that category too often. There's too many times, if you're a Christian, especially, you experience it, that you don't really think about what the word means. And a lot of people think, oh, faith is just belief. It's blind belief, that if you blindly believe in Christianity, well, then you're going to go to heaven one day. And that's not it. And it's an understanding that what Jesus was going through, what Nate and Savannah has been going through, what we all go through, there's this level of trust that we have to come to, that we have to say to ourselves, hey, Jesus is actually describing something to us. The Bible is actually trying to guide us in a direction. Do we believe that? Do we trust that? Are we willing to make actions on those words? Or are we just going to, just like Nate said, throw up the blinders? And so that's what I think faith is. It's an action. You're faithing into something. You are trusting. Jesus said, hey, this is what I want, but regardless, I'm trusting you. We want healing. The people who grabbed for healing, they wanted the healing. They wanted to believe in healing, but it was the believing that what Jesus said is actually true. That's the faith that healed them. Not faith that they will be healed. It's they believed he was the actual savior, that he's capable of it. And so that's my 2 cents there. I think that's such an important thing that we lose context of. Just be a better Christian. Have more faith. It'll solve everything. With that being said, like I said, we are coming close. We have about another 10 minutes or so. But Canaan, do you have our next topic for us?
I got one. Okay. This is a piece of advice I've heard many, many times, and I'm curious to hear everyone's take, because I feel like different people in this room may have a different take on this particular piece of advice. But it's the idea that if you are going through something really difficult, depression, anger, addiction of some kind, that it is a spirit that must be cast out.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, as in you agree.
Yes or no? I just wanted to say yes to see your reaction.
Let's fight about it.
Now, I will say this. I just called it bad advice, okay? Mm-hmm. There have been some instances recently in my life where I thought to myself, this is a spirit in somebody's life, or I think it could be, like some form of spiritual thing. Now, what that is, question mark. I don't know. Fill in the blank, maybe you guys can answer that, or maybe you can't. But what's your take, guys?
Yeah, I think the topic of spiritual warfare is very interesting, bad advice or not. My gut reaction real quick is this is one of those areas in Christianity that can be and has been abused and used to manipulate people. And so right away, my hackles go up. And right away, my mind goes, I have to investigate. I need to know more. I need to dig into this. This is like when someone starts sprouting, oh, hey, Tony, I was praying over you, and I just feel like there's this spirit of blah, blah, blah in your life. We're going to take some time to dig into this before I actually accept that as any level of truth in my life. And so that's just my gut reaction. What about you, Nate?
Somebody shows up with a pig, and they're like, Tony, we're going to take care of this right now.
Right now. Let's handle it.
We got a pig.
Yeah, I actually want to hear Dad's thoughts first.
Yeah, for sure.
What are we talking about again?
Spiritual. Yeah. When is a prescription of a spirit being on someone? Which I would say, when somebody says spirit, I would say a demon.
Like demonic.
Right? Demonic spirit.
Yeah, I think it, okay, yes. It happens. We see it happen in Scripture. It's a thing, right? However, I think that it gets far too much credit. Demons get far too much credit for just our thought processes, our own flesh, temptations, our weakness. Yes. We do see demonic temptation in Scripture. So you can't say it doesn't happen. It never happens. It clearly happens. We see that Jesus went up into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil after he had fasted for 40 days, and he was approached by demonic, right, by Satan himself. So and tempted. So we are tempted, but I do think that we often give demons way too much credit for just our own thoughts.
Absolutely.
And sometimes those thoughts come because we expose our minds, our eyes, our ears to things that are naturally going to lead us down a path of like immoral thinking or foolish thinking or whatever. So yeah, that's what I say. I think on occasion, yes, and maybe more than maybe a lot, but not all the time.
Yes. Yeah. I have like my immediate reaction to this, and then I have like, you got like some more nuanced reaction here.
Exactly.
I really don't like it when there's a demon under every rock.
Right.
And be like, man, I'm feeling a little tired today. the demons are on
The demon of sloth.
the sloth demon.
I rebuke it.
I
rebuke
don't take
it.
a nap. That's the demon of slumber, brother. I don't like that. And I was just having a conversation with somebody recently about somebody they knew who was like going through this kind of weird episode of being distrustful and crazy bitter. And they were like, I just think that if we could just pray over them, then they'd be free of it. And I don't think you see demonic temptation and oppression work that way in the Bible. Dad, you brought up that picture of Jesus going into the wilderness to be tempted. He wasn't tempted by a demon coming in and forcing him to do anything. He was tempted with a lie.
That's right.
Right.
And it was
principality.
It's a very appealing lie, but he was tempted with a lie. And the wilderness temptation is a direct echo of Genesis chapter 3, where Adam and Eve are tempted with a lie, like a proposition that sounds like that is very appealing, but is a direct contradiction of what they're called to do. And that is like, and then you just see that play out over and over and over and over and over again, where it's like an appeal to desire, a distorted, twisted desire. And so I said, man, yes, I think that's that can be a great start. But if someone is going to choose to believe a lie, then demon or no, they're going to believe a lie. Like
exactly.
The way you fight against the demonic is not by it's not holy water and then it's like, bam, like all my problems are solved. You got to believe the truth. Like, what is it that sets you free?
Right.
You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So, I C.S. Lewis read a really cool book, imagining what this is like, called The Screwtape Letters, which is super, super cool. And he indirectly addresses that question, like, is this a spirit or is it just my head? And Lewis is like, yes, it's both, but not the way people mean it. Like the low moment, the depression, or he says like the dryness or the numbness. That's just what it means to be an embodied creature living in time and space.
Yeah.
Like the spiritual dimension is not that a demon manufactured the feeling. It's that a demon will try to exploit the feeling with lies once it's there, and then push you, in Lewis's view, towards despair or towards rationalizing your way out of like obedience to God while you're in that thing. So treating the low thing itself as demonic oppression completely misses the point in Lewis's idea. It's almost the opposite. Like the low point, the rough point, is the ordinary, predictable, and to be expected part about being a physical being. But what matters spiritually is what you do with it. So, there's more to this discussion, unfortunately, because somebody out there is listening to this going like checkmate, King Saul, a spirit came upon him, a spirit from God. And this is the part they don't want to say, is like the spirit came from God. So God sent it upon him. And so there's a whole can of worms there in terms of scriptural interpretation. I have thoughts, but good news, we're out of time and we can't talk about it.
Some other day, some other episode.
That's sad.
Yep.
Yeah, well, thank you so much,
Yeah, this was
Rick,
fun.
for joining us. And Canaan.
Honored to be here. It
been
was
great.
fun. Yeah, you guys are fun. I
It's a
like
good time,
all of
guys.
you.
Yep. You know, well, we went all over the place, which is that was exactly what I wanted to happen. We had some ha-has, we had some uh-ohs, we had everything in between, which is you know what? I think that's how you take the easy approach to these kind of questions. So, guys, thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for going back and forth, and to you guys listening to us out there, thanks for joining us. Thanks for listening in. I want to hear from y'all. We are interested to hear your experiences of just really bad advice that you've encountered.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
chime
definitely.
in the Spotify comments, in the Apple Podcast comments, or wherever you're listening to this thing. Chime in and let us know what you think. What's
Or
some
if
of
you
the...
just want to send us a direct message, by all means.
Yep.
Or a letter in the post.
Yep. We answer all forms of communique. So in the meantime, always remember, guys, take it easy.